How are you doing?
Yeah.
Sorry, let me take my AirPods out because they didn't even connect. How's your day going?
Good. How's yours?
Good. It's going great
like-
because I'm speaking to, huh?
I like your picture in the back.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Who is that? Do you know her?
Like it.
Let me tell you guys, normally we let the artists introduce themselves, which I will, but I want to start by saying Jenna is far more than just an artist. When I look at someone like Jenna, just from the research I did, Jenna's one of those people that you might not know that you have heard of her, but I guarantee everyone in here knows a melody she wrote. Jenna is a wildly talented songwriter, incredible artist. We're so excited to have her on. Thank you, Nadia, for reaching out and setting this up. Will you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Well, I'm Jenna. You already did a pretty good job. I always think it's so funny being like, I'm Jenna Andrews, but I am Jenna Andrews. And yeah, I mean, listen, I don't really know what else to say. You already did such a good job.
I mean, there's someone, then I'm gonna start. No, let's start off with, how are you doing in the coin? Huh?
I'm glad we're doing this finally. I feel like we worked on this for a minute.
Yeah. So, we were doing interviews constantly, and then with everything happening around, our office is in Hollywood, so we were like very impacted. The protests, everything was happening right on our street. So we started doing a lot of community work and things of that nature. And these past few weeks, or this week really, we got back into it. So I apologize. I'll take full responsibility for that. But we're so glad to have you on.
Of course.
So let's talk, Jenna. You have written for some of my favorite artists, and I'm sure some of other people's favorite artists. I want to begin with that so people understand the impact of this interview. I'm going to list some of the folks. So Drake, Jennifer Lopez, DJ Mustard, Noah 40, Elangelo, so many people, Stargate, Jessie J. I can keep going, but I wanted to ask, how did you get into songwriting? Because that's not an easy thing to get into.
So I started off as an artist. Actually, no, honestly, I started writing when I was like 13 or 14. I just sort of like sat by the piano and started just like, I may have even been younger. I started like music when I was really young, but in terms of just like professionally writing and writing for other artists, not just like for myself, it sort of was like a process that started for my own artistry. So for instance, I was signed to Island Def Jam as an artist for like 7 years. I'm not sure if you knew that.
I did. I didn't know that stopped. I thought you were still signed as an artist.
Oh, no. So I'm not signed there anymore. So I left in like 2014. And of course, when you're an artist, you're always an artist, right? So it's like, I'm obviously, but I've been focusing more on songwriting for other artists and like on it, like Majid Jordan, who signed to OVO and Drake and them. Like I've known them for a long time. Like we were like kids coming up in music and stuff.
That's dope. Shout out Majid Jordan, the whole squad.
Yeah. So, but I didn't know Majid Jordan then. I just knew 40 and Drake and Oliver and all those guys, like Future.
You said 40, Drake, Future.
Yeah.
You went with the big names.
Well, Future, like his manager.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. That's dope. That's incredible.
Oh, it just got really bright. Can you still see me?
Absolutely.
Okay. And then, so I knew them for a long time. And then when I left the label, it was kind of like weird timing because I went through this kind of time that I sort of just wanted to try writing for other people. And I just had been on the label for so long. And I don't know, it was one of those things that I went through a certain kind of thing on the label. And I just feel like it was before like really Spotify had kicked in and all this stuff. So I just feel like that experience was weird. Like I only put out like a single and like one EP in like 7 years. How crazy is that?
Yeah, see, crazy. But you know what I think so beautiful is I've always told artists that I drew a lot of inspiration from Neo, The Dream. I mean, the list goes on of people who wrote crazy hits and paved their way in songwriting and publishing, but then we're able to translate that back into being an artist. And the reason why I think that's so important is as an artist, a lot of times I think you're, I don't want to say you're failures, but when you don't accomplish as much as you accomplished before, you start feeling bad and you're like, I'm not making money and you got to go do things you don't want to do. I
Exactly.
always tell artists, get into songwriting, make your money off songwriting because it's like real estate. It's like you're buying a piece of land. It's going to keep growing. You should be getting more and more money as a publishing comes in, as a song gets, bigger and bigger. And so for yourself, I think actually what you did was genius, and I think it was long term the best play because now you'll never have to go do anything else but music, and you can always, pursue your artistry.
Right, exactly, and you just nailed it on the head. And that was what it was. And I feel like to me, just even as just a pure creative, and not feeling like you have to worry about the politics and things like that. When I left the label, I was kind of like, I just would be interested to write for other people. So that's when the Drake thing comes into play because 40 had hit me up like right as that happened. Which I'm such a believer that the universe always is like nothing's like everything's on purpose. Like I could
Yes.
get me into this. But anyway, so he was like, hey, can you help me develop this new act that we signed, Majid Jordan? So I went to Toronto for at the time I had moved to New York, even though I had been living in Toronto, but I went back to Toronto basically for like a year and helped develop that project. So that was the first thing. That's the first like project I would say.
Which project?
Huh? Oh, the one with like A Place Like This and You and Forever.
I'm gonna bow to you right now. Thank you. I want to thank you on behalf of everybody that I know that loves Majid Jordan because that was fire. You did an incredible job, you and the whole team.
Oh, yay!
How did you get linked in with them? Like Noah never hits me up, you know what I mean? So how did you get linked in with 40? And for people who don't know, 40 is what do they say? Like the head of the snake at OVO. He's like the genius behind a lot of what we hear over there.
I love it. So my manager, so I used to be managed by this guy, Chris Smith. He manages like Alessia Cara now. He managed Nelly Furtado back in the day. And when I actually met 40 when he was engineering, just like, I think he was like kind of managed by Chris at the time. But anyway, it was like, Chris sort of is like the godfather of Toronto managers. So it's like everyone that him, so he knew everybody and he connected us. And I moved to Toronto when I was like 19 or 20, and then he was like Noah is his name. 40. He was like the first person he introduced me to, and we've been like, it was so great, like way before he even knew Drake.
Wow, that is divine intervention.
So he didn't even know Drake then. So that's like, I really do go way back with them. And so anyway, it was just crazy how like the world just works, how, timing is so interesting and how it just worked perfectly. Cause it just set me on another chapter in my life. I think that made me be like, wow, I really love writing for other artists, but in a way that I feel it feels so cathartic to really be involved in the whole process, like vocal production, like just spending time with somebody and understanding what their vision is and being a part of that. Not just being like, hey, I'm going to write one song and here you go. That's never been my thing, like.
Yeah. You want to help them make the album, the moment.
Exactly. Like I really want to feel it in a way that just doesn't feel so manufactured. Because that's what being an artist is to me, right? And that was something to me that I've always been. I'm just such an emotional writer and an emotional person, to be honest. So I just act out of emotion. So I feel like for me, I'm not a very like paint by numbers kind of writer. And I never have been. So I think that to write with an act like them and really just be in it in a way that I felt like instrumental in that process. And I felt like almost I was a part of the band,
Yeah, no, you were. Absolutely were.
So it felt like it was really nice for that to be like sort of like like the universe's way of telling me, hey, like this is something that I feel like you are really good at, but also feels very much like your space, because I think as an artist, what it is that people always ask me, like, are you doing another artist project and all these kind of things? But for me, I want to, but there's like a loud car.
Don't even worry about it.
But I want to do another artist project. But I think for me, like, I love being in the studio. I love creating, like the touring aspect. I love performing, but I just don't want to be on the road like all the time. So I think that it's like one of those things where I think I may do a side project here or something like that. But what really was nice about learning about what I really wanted to do is like executive production and like songwriting on a level where you're doing vocal production, you're executive producing the vision, you're like in there with the artist.
Yeah.
so
which
fulfilling.
you have been knocking that out of the park. So everyone knows you have been A&Ring Noah Cyrus, correct?
No, is that, yeah, no, Cyrus, yeah.
That's amazing. Her career from where she was as, a sister of somebody who's famous to where I would say now musically she's a little more, probably getting more streams and has like kind of surpassed where Miley is at the moment. Um, yeah, I think that's incredible. So you A&R'd her single July, correct?
Yeah, July, and then I also co-wrote the remix with Leon Bridges and vocal producer Leon.
Mind blown. Shout out to Leon.
Oh,
160 million streams
I know.
on one song. That's amazing. And so I think a lot of people should draw inspiration from that, because to me, the most beautiful part of that process is the songwriting. And now, as you mentioned, you don't have to tour, you don't have to leave your family, you don't have to go on
Right.
the road and break your back. But I'm
Right.
pretty sure you'll see some fruits of your labor from those 160 million streams. So I actually, you definitely will. For all of us who know the industry, it's going to take some time, but you'll get, it's going to come in.
Right.
So let me ask you, have you ever written a song and not wanted to give it away?
Oh, and keep it for myself, you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know what? It's yes, but not like absolutely not. It's more like I've felt the need to hang on to it unless it was absolutely the right person. Because I feel that I would be like, I don't want to give this to anyone. I want to keep this, but because it's so special. But if it was like if it was like the absolute best fit, then I would be like, okay. But it was just, if certain songs are like more close to home, then it's almost like you're just so specific on who cuts it.
Absolutely.
And that was definitely more so like back when I was like focusing solely on artist stuff. Now it's more like, I think I'm just very specific on if there is a song that's very close to home, on like not just giving it to anybody, having that connection, because I am a very big believer on connection, and I think a part of the process that I really enjoy is that spiritual feeling of connecting with an artist and a human, being able to really be a part of the journey, like I just said, like in this process that I think is like almost like therapeutic. It's not almost therapeutic, it is therapeutic, and
very
it makes
therapeutic.
something that if you don't feel like you can get that from even someone cutting a song when you felt that way cutting it, I feel like it's not going to translate to the audience. So that's sort of like the way that I think of those things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, what's a really interesting concept to me is when you write these songs, I'm sure a lot of them are drawn from experiences, personal experiences. Maybe it's somebody like someone you were in love with, someone who you're mad at for whatever reason, someone, cut you off in traffic and now you wrote some angry song. Is there any of your songs, so I was gonna say, is there any that are dedicated to somebody, but then somebody else sang that song and it's like weird because now Majid Jordan's singing about your ex? That makes sense.
Oh, I like that question. Oh my God, wait, I have to think about what song. I mean, wait, now I have to like look at my songs. I mean, okay, like there is, I'm trying to think. There was this song that I wrote for Jessie J back in the day. Wow, that rhymed.
Yeah, you're definitely a songwriter.
Wow, that's so...
You just wrote a hook on the spot.
Oh my God, I'm so brilliant, honestly. Yeah.
I love it.
But anyway, I feel bad saying what it was about because it was somebody that was sick. But
which is fine. Yeah, I understand.
No, yeah, but that comes to mind first because that's definitely something, and that was like, and that song was it's called Personal. And it's so personal because I remember doing that. That was one of those songs where I was like, didn't want to give it to anyone. And Jessie is just such an incredible singer. And
Absolutely.
To me, like, for me, I'm less about like who's the biggest person who cut it. I'm always like, I'm such a singer. Like I grew up like singing in churches, and like I love singing. I love harmony. I love that. So I admire real singers and real artists more than I admire like fame, like numbers. Even though listen, both, you're like, like, are you kidding me? It's like the best present ever. I mean, I was literally just talking to another artist about this yesterday, about how like to this girl Benny, that I think you probably know, that I've also written with. I'm sure Nadia.
Yeah.
That that we were speaking about that, and I was telling her like the best thing that's come out of writing that song with her is like writing with an artist that I admire as much as I admire her, and because I always like that was always my dream on my bucket list, was like I want to write with an artist that I admire, that I think is so credible, that may never had a hit in their life, but like I just want to write with them, and then hopefully they get a hit. And
Absolutely.
So
It did.
But that's what checked the bucket
Super
list.
Lonely, right?
Yeah, but that's what checked the box off for me. Not the fact that it's like a big song. It's like, I mean, that's great, but I feel like the value for me in my own personal journey, and like what I really like feel satisfied about, is that part. Is that it's an artist that I really believed in for reasons that had nothing to do with like commercial viability. You know?
Yeah, you just like, you love that you were a fan before you were a colleague.
I thought she was amazing, and I loved her music, and I think
she is.
So anyway, so that's I think that's like it's just so important to me, and that's something that matters a lot. Yeah, it's just like it's very important. I know.
Well, have you ever been on the other side of that coin where, you know, your manager, someone's like, hey Jenna, we want to give this record to, for example, I don't know if you remember Rebecca Black, who did It's Friday. So like, if your management team back, I don't know when that was, like 2012, was like, yo Jenna, we're giving this song to Rebecca Black. You're going to get paid. You're going to blah, blah, blah. It'll be just like had the song gone to, you know, Noah. But how would you have felt how do you feel giving your music to people you might not respect as much? Right? Shout out to Rebecca Black. She was incredible. Great viral moment. No disrespect to Rebecca. Shout out to the whole Rebecca, you know, Black. Anyway, how do you feel about that? About like being like, I don't know if I want to give that person the song.
So no, it's a good question. So I'm kind of two minds about it. Like back then, I feel like I probably would be like, it depending on the song. If it's one of those songs where you're like, okay, it's like I like this song, I don't like love this song, I would probably be like, okay, yeah, she could cut it, but I don't want my name on it. Like that's always what I would have.
Oh, you would take your name off? Shout out. I respect that.
I feel bad. I mean, that's really what I would have done. I mean, now I probably wouldn't. Like, if it's something that I really don't like, then I just wouldn't do it. Because
makes sense. You're good now. You're good. You've got 160 million streams. You don't got to give songs to Rebecca Black.
I think that, oh my God. In fact, she's here right now, actually. We're working.
Oh, I'd be so embarrassed. I'd literally hop off.
Can you imagine? Oh my God,
I'd go back.
That happened to me the other day. Like, I was like, but not in regards to a song, but like, I was looking for, oh my God, I was looking for a house, and there.
Oh, froze for a second. Hang tight, everybody. While this is frozen, shout out Rebecca Black. No disrespect. You have been more successful than 99% of the artists I've ever known. 98 maybe. Okay, I'm gonna get Jenna back, everybody. Hang tight. We're gonna ask Jenna for advice for songwriting. X Life of X. I'm gonna get to that as well. That's actually gonna be the next segment. We're gonna talk about songwriting as well as her advice for songwriters and how you can potentially get to working with her. If anyone else has any questions for Jenna, please ask, because we will definitely get to those. And you never know, you might be a fire producer and she might respond. Get your production in her email. She writes a song. Noah Cyrus sings it. You get yourself a publishing check. Give us just a minute, guys. Okay, let's see. Somebody asked, how was her experience working with Kpop? Oh, I can't wait to ask that. Oh, man. That's a great one. That is a great one. Shout out to J_Zamo. Give us just a minute, guys. If Jenna's not back in about 30 seconds, I'll start dancing or something to keep you guys entertained. Where are you guys from? Anyone in here live? Where are you guys from? Oh, let's see. She's back. We're back. There we go.
My phone overheated. How funny is that?
Where are you at? Are you in LA?
No, I'm actually staying in Jersey. I have been ever since this whole like COVID thing happened.
New York, you're in the East?
I'm in New York. Where are you?
Oh, you're shut down.
Where are you?
I'm in LA. I mean, we're shut down, but it's not like the way you're shut down.
But you kind of are more shut down now that shit's hitting the
Yeah.
fan.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Hey, I had a question though. We had somebody ask about working with you as far as songwriting, and before we get into that,
okay.
There's no way we can do this without getting some valuable gems from you because you're such an incredible songwriter and wildly talented. So, what advice would you give to a younger version of yourself or somebody who's also dancing between being an artist and a songwriter? What advice would you give to them right now at the beginning stages of their career?
I think honestly, just to like create from an authentic place. That's always what I like to say. I think it's just like, I think that trying to fit into like a box is never the way to do it, because I think I learned over time that like doing that just is like gets you like spinning on a hamster wheel. I think it's more like you got to follow something that feels really right, and I think that starts to really make sense. As much as it's like esoteric and it may be like, oh yeah, that's like could be in a pipe dream or whatever it is, it's not really, because I think that it's not like I'm saying, oh, that's going to happen. I think patience is key too, because it's like you can't say, oh, it's going to happen overnight. Like that's really not it. And I think today, like especially with Gen Z and stuff, like I know it's like things are so fast paced and it's like people expect like instant results and like with social media and stuff. But I do think that like essentially you still have to put in the hard work, because I do believe, as cheesy as it sounds, it's like opportunity meets preparation meets readiness, or whatever they say, is like equals
Absolutely.
To success. And I think that if you put that hard work in and you know you're and I also think it's like being a hustler. Like I've been a hustler my whole life. Like when I was in high school, I sold tickets in Calgary in Canada. Like I remember selling.
See it. I see you.
Yeah.
So actually, sorry, keep going. I'm sorry. Go.
No, I was saying that like I sold tickets to like whatever artist would come in to Calgary to perform, and I would be like, oh, if I sold like 500 tickets, can I perform open? And I would do that, and I would be like 15 and 16, and I would get to open for them, and then I would meet that connection, and then I would keep in touch, like, because I'm just like, I'm always like, don't be afraid, because listen, the worst you can hear is no, because I have people up all the time, and I'm busy, and like there may not be always an instant response, but the connection is made, and it's like here, right? So you just got to keep checking in, as much as it may seem annoying. It's like you got to do it. Like sometimes this is what it's about to be new. You just got to not get discouraged. And as much as, listen, I can preach to the choir all day long. I mean, it's always hard to like, it's easier to like say than actually do. So it's hard, but I think that like ultimately, if you just tell yourself that, and even if you're bummed or feel discouraged for one day, it's like the next day just pick up and be like, fuck, I really want this. Like this, there's no choice. I got to do it.
Absolutely. You know, somebody told me once when I first delved into music, they were a doctor, head surgeon up in Canada. And my mom was like, can you please tell my son to not do music? Tell my son to not do music. Yes, blah, blah, blah. He said, it took me 12 years to get to where I am, just in the beginning phases of being a doctor. And he told my mom, I bet you if your son does whatever the hell he wants to do for 12 years, he'll get to where I'm at, if not farther. And I think that applies to exactly what you're saying, is like, you might not see it day one. You're not going to see it day one. You're not going to see it year one. But I think that building bricks and continuing to follow that same path is the best thing like a young artist can do.
Yeah, because here's the thing. I always tell young artists this too. It's like,